his many visits to Los Alamos around 1947, Von Neumann described the suggestion of Richard Clippinger of the Ballistics Research Laboratory that the ENIAC might be converted into a limited stored program mode of operation instead of its gigantic plug board mode distributed over the entire machine as described by Arthur Burks earlier. The idea was that the so-called function tables, of which we saw some photographs, normally used to store some 312 decimal digit numbers set by manual switches, could be used to store up to 1,800 two-decimal digit pairs, and that they could be interrogated sequentially, including loops, each pair corresponding to an instruction. Thus, one could go from one problem to another much more efficiently. Adele Goldstein of Princeton indeed started to plan the background control to implement this form of control. But halfway through this stage, it was apparent that the control capacity of the ENIAC was not to be sufficient. However, on a visit to the ENIAC in early 1948, in preparation for its use after its move from Philadelphia, I was briefed by Homer Spence, the quiet but effective chief engineer, about some of their plans. And he mentioned the construction of a new panel to augment one of the logical operations. It was a one input, 100 output matrix. It occurred to me that if this could be used to interpret the instruction pairs in the proposed control mode, then it would release a sufficiently large portion of the control units to perhaps realize the new mode of operation. When I mentioned this to Von Neumann, he asked if I would be willing to take over the project, since Adele had by this time lost interest. So with the help of Harry Von Neumann, plans were revised and completed, and we undertook to implement them on the ENIAC. And in a fortnight, this was achieved. Our set of problems, the first Monte Carlos, were run in the new mode. Subsequently, Jack Hawken, Foster and Serta Evans, and Jerry Sedan were to utilize the ENIAC for another extensive series of problems. So you see, in some ways, this is at variance with some of the remarks due to Clippinger about the efficiency, or at least so I interpret it. The demand at Los Alamos for larger, faster, and more sophisticated computers continued unabated. In the post-war years, in addition to the ENIAC, access was gained to the SEAC of the NBC, National Bureau of Standards, and NBS, in Washington, the UNIVAC in Philadelphia, and SWAC, another NBS machine in Los Angeles, shortly after they started humming in the early 50s. Without exception, the cooperation between the teams sent from Los Alamos and the support staff at the respective sites was exemplary. So now I come to the last part, dealing with the computer research and utilization at the utilization program at Los Alamos. In 1946, Stan Frankel and I joined the faculty of the University of Chicago. But the plans of President Hutchins to expand the scientific effort were sufficiently ambitious so as to considerably delay the construction of several buildings whose existence was a necessary